Good evening. I'm Councillor Shamila Sivraja and I would like to welcome you to this full council meeting. There are no planned fire drills tonight. In the event of fire alarm sounding, please leave the building via the main spiral staircase and through the main reception doors. Once outside, please turn left and make your way to the fire assembly point. This is located beyond the multi-storey car park on Exchange Road. If you are unable to use the stairs, please wait in the council chamber and you will be guided by a member of staff to the evacuation lift. This meeting is being live streamed via the council's YouTube channel. Please note that there is no comments function available as part of this webcast. The council is the data controller and will retain the data collected during this webcast. This will be done in accordance with the council's published data retention policy. Those sitting in the public gallery should be aware that by entering the chamber, they are consenting to their image being captured by the automated camera system. Recordings will be used for webcasting and/or training purposes. Cameras are currently set to capture members in seated position, so please remain seated when speaking. Councillors have received an electronic copy of the relevant paperwork for this meeting. The public agenda for this meeting is available on the council's website. We will now start the agenda. Are there any apologies for absence?
Yes, Madam Mayor, we've had apologies from Councillor Belbin, Councillor Burke, Councillor Mngale and Councillor Patel.
Thank you. Councillors' interests notified in advance of the meeting are set out from page 5 in the supplementary agenda order paper. Are there any further interest councillors wish to declare? No? Okay. Do you approve the minutes of the meeting of the full council held on 22nd October 2025, which appear on pages 5 to 24 in your agenda? Thank you. I will now provide you with the mayoral update. As I reflect on the past few months, I feel a deep sense of pride and gratitude. Serving as your mayor has given me the privilege of witnessing the very best of our town, its resilience, its creativity, and its unwavering community spirit. I've had the honor of attending a wide range of events that showcase the heart of Crawley. I celebrated the 20th anniversary of K2 Crawley, a place that has brought health, sport, and connection to thousands over the years. I applauded the achievements of our young people at the Scout Award, where their dedication and leadership gave me great hope for the future. I was honored to take part in the unveiling of the Silent Soldiers, standing shoulder to shoulder with veterans from Crawley and Horsham in solemn remembrance. These commemorative figures are a powerful reminder of the courage and sacrifice etched into our shared history. From the moving services at St. John's Church to the heartfelt reflection at Gatwick School, it was deeply humbling to witness generations coming together in unity, remembrance, and respect. I laid flowers in Banstead for Armistice Day. I was honored to officially inaugurate the COVID Memorial Avenue in Crawley's Memorial Garden. The upright sweet gum trees planted by the council will years to come offer a striking display of colours each autumn, a living tribute to those we lost. This memorial fulfills a long-standing pledge to our residents and stand as a lasting place of reflection, remembrance, and peace for all who wish to honour loved ones no longer with us. I also had the joy of welcoming new beginnings. I attended the opening of the Strainagrene and the County York Post Office, both of which bring fresh energy and opportunity to our local economy. At the Dormans Youth Arts Centre Open Day in Gossip's Green, I saw young people express themselves with confidence and creativity. And at Oriel High School's performance of Little Shop of Horrors, I was blown away by the talent and passion on stage, a true celebration of the arts in education. I cheered on athletes at British Down Syndrome Swimming Championship, where courage and joy filled the pool. I saluted the discipline and pride of the Crawley Sea Cadets during the Royal Naval Parade, a stirring reminder of service and tradition. And I joined our community in festive celebration at the Christmas tree lights switch-on, where the sparkle of the season was matched only by the smiles of those gathered. These are just a few of the many events I've had the privilege to attend. There have been countless more, each one a reminder of how vibrant, diverse, and united our town truly is. Now, as I look ahead, I do so with great anticipation. I know there are many more events to come, more moments to celebrate, to remember, and to come together. We will now move on to Cabinet Members' announcement with a 10-minute time limit. As you can see on page 7 of the order paper, there are 3 announcements. I will take them in the published order. Starting with the Leader of the Council, Councillor Jones, please introduce your 2 communication items.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have 2 items to announce tonight. The first is concerning local government reorganisation. The government has launched its public consultation on the options for local government reorganisation. For Crawley, it is consulting on 3 options. The first is this council's preferred option, known as option B2, of a new unitary consisting of Crawley, Horsham and Mid Sussex. The second, known as option A, proposes a new unitary council covering the whole of West Sussex. The third, proposed by Brighton and Hove City Council, which Crawley Council officers had no input into, would see a new unitary covering Crawley, Horsham and Chichester. The consultation closes on the 10th of January and is open for anyone to respond, and we would encourage residents to do so. Councillors are also able to respond in a personal capacity to express their own views. This council is named consultee, and I have instructed the Chief Executive to prepare a response that is consistent with the decision taken by this council in September, which will be published in due course. The second announcement is on the Town Council Community Governance Review. In the summer, this council agreed to undertake a community governance review with a view to setting up a new town council. The proposal was to create a body that could continue to represent Crawley and only Crawley, and to protect facilities and potentially services that are perhaps more unique to this new town. The first stage of consultation within that review closed at the beginning of this month, Madam Mayor. Over 1,000 residents have responded, which compares well with a higher response to the last budget consultation or the recent engagement on local government reorganisation. In fact, with the local government reorganisation, I believe it's 3.5 times more responses. In fact, than we did for the engagement on local government reorganisation, proving, if proof were needed, that people respond and identify far more with what is close to them than what is more distant and remote. This means, I believe, Madam Mayor, that we can have confidence in the outcome, which was extremely positive, with 72% support for the creation of a new town council. The simple truth is that people locally recognise that there are real advantages to having a council whose sole focus is on Crawley and ensuring that public assets bought and paid for by Crawley residents since the beginning of the new town remain in their ownership. In the consultation, we asked about any concerns people might have, and the biggest concern was additional costs to council taxpayers. Although, again, clear enthusiasm was expressed for the closer community engagement that a parish-level council could deliver on the positives. We will now consider this and other responses to develop an outline proposal for what a town council might look like ahead of a second consultation that will take place early in the new year. I'm confident in doing so we can set out arrangements that will adequately address concerns over the precept that would mean that it would have income that would not require large additional sums over and above what is currently required. Thank you.
Finally, we have Councillor Irvine, the Cabinet Member for Housing. He will speak on the Council receiving a top-up grant for homelessness prevention and other homelessness matters. Please introduce your communication item, Councillor Irvine.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wanted to make this announcement because often there aren't the opportunities to report events of interest in the usual day-to-day of the Council. And I know also that many councillors are hugely interested and concerned about homelessness and its impacts. So I'm very happy to announce that we have been awarded by the government an additional near £60,000 top-up to our homelessness prevention grant. Prevention is a very important aspect to our work in tackling homelessness. To quote the old saying, prevention is better than cure. I also note that the government last week published its national plan to end homelessness, an ambitious plan to drastically reduce this scourge by the end of this Parliament. I think it is well worth reading, and this council will be doing its best to help reach the goals in the plan, for no other reason than it is the right thing to do. Last week we published in the forward plan details of an exciting new initiative to work with homeless people to establish more stable lives, and I look forward to that progressing through the council. In the meantime, I hope we can spare some thoughts for the homeless in temporary accommodation and those sleeping rough on the streets. And if you see a big issue seller, think about buying a copy. Not only will you be helping the seller, you'll be getting a very good read as well. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
We will now move to the item 6. Public questions time, which is set for 30 minutes. I will briefly explain the procedure. I will invite each person in turn to the table at the front of the public seating area to ask their question. Please state your name, which ward you live in, and then ask your question. I will then invite the most appropriate cabinet member or committee chair to reply to your question. You may then ask one supplementary question, which should relate to your original question or the response given to it. Please put your hand up if you are wanting to ask a question. Right. Yes, can you please come forward? Please introduce yourself.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Yep, my name's David Glazebrook and I live in Three Bridges. My problem relates to vehicles being parked on Crawley Borough Council grass verges. It's antisocial and it also causes a safety issue. Several years ago, I raised it to my ward councillors, which was Bob Burgess and Brenda Burgess, but there was a catalogue of excuses which meant that nothing was done. We fast forward a few years and Mr Nawaz was canvassing for votes on my doorstep. He asked me if there were any local issues that he should be aware of. I explained about the parking and he promised me that he would deal with it should he be elected. A broken promise. We fast forward to July this year and following a downpour, the topsoil, which now gets eroded because there is no longer any grass to hold it in place, was washed down the pavement. That silt settled in a low spot on the pavement. I was walking to work and I slipped on this semi-solid silt and I ended up fracturing my right shoulder. So that caused me to lose my holiday. I had time off work and the associated loss of wages, which I'm not looking for. So I contacted my local councillors and it was Councillor Burgess who was the only councillor that had the courtesy to respond. Councillor Nawaz and Councillor Pritchard have not even had the decency to acknowledge my correspondence. So my first question is, I would like to know if the council believes that ignoring the legitimate concerns of a constituent is acceptable.
May I ask Councillor Hilton to answer the question?
On the general subject or on that particular one? I don't think I'm sharing it.
Can I answer that as well? Should I do that?
I'm happy to answer.
Yeah, go on.
Okay. Thank you for your question. Actually, I live in Three Bridges as well, and I accept what you say about people on the grass verges parking. I don't like it.
That wasn't the question.
No. I will ask you a question. I just want to say I sympathise with what you say. I live in Three Bridges and understand the situation. In answer to your second question, I can only talk personally as a councillor. I think it's important to, yes, respond, but there may be reasons for it, and there might be reasons between the different councillors. It's a mixed ward of different political parties. But I do know that Councillor Pritchard and Councillor Nawaz work extremely hard on behalf of the constituents. And I'm a resident of Three Bridges. I go to the local forum as well as representing Pounder North and Fordwood as well. and I think they do a good job, and I'm sure we can explain something in writing afterwards.
Just leave it. Still wait for the response. It's not a conversation.
Do you have a second question?
Do you have a second question? Councillor Navas.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for giving me the opportunity to clarify as a point of personal explanation. I did receive an email from Mr. Glazebrook, and I did reply, and I received a response for thank you for that as well. I did look into, I have spoken to officers quite regularly, and just to clarify, there is an active forum in Crawley. That's the only Three Bridges residents forum, and this issue has been raised over there many times, and I have given updates on a regular basis. And I have come back to this one, and this is with the officers as well. So I just wanted to clear personal point of explanation. You sent an email to me on 17th of September, and I replied to you, and you confirmed to me, thanks for your reply, Atif, that's on 19th of September. Thank you.
It's not at the moment.
Okay.
I have communicated with officers, but I'll come back to you.
Okay, we'll talk about it another time.
Thank you. Councillor Burgess.
Thank you. Thank you, and thank you for your emails, and I have sent them straight off to various officers. At the moment, the answer is, at the moment, and I'm still trying to work on it, I sort of dropped the pebble in the pool and hope the ripples eventually reach the end, but the trouble is at the moment that we have nothing in place, no bylaw or anything in place to stop parking on the grass. All I can do is keep sending the letters forward, emails forward, and the things that you talk about, the objections. I've got several places in Three Bridges where the grass is so badly damaged and it's extremely dangerous. I've noticed one in Ridgeside also. If we could just get some sort of bylaw or some sort of fencing or some sort of deterrent, and I keep asking this, but at the moment there's nothing in place, and there appears to be, at the moment, I must say nothing we can do, but I still trust and say that surely one day, someone will hear us and we will get it, because at the moment I do acknowledge that it's making the area look run down and really depreciated. So bear with me, sir, and I'm sorry about your shoulder, I really, really am. If you tripped over a payment having reported it, you could have sued the council, by the way, but this isn't West Sussex. Sorry, I should have declared an interest. So by all means, keep on to the three of us, because we do talk. You'd be surprised, we do talk to one another, although we're on different sides. But sometimes I will say, keep in touch, because I know that with the quantity of work we have, at times we lose the focus where we're going. But I am pushing and still trying to get something that will prevent unnecessary parking on the grass verges, especially when there's CPZ in the area, because I think we should do something about that. If there's a CPZ, people should say they're not allowed to park on grass verges. I hope that's satisfied. Thank you.
That's another thing that I was going to ask. That was my second question. Councillor Burgess
Sorry, do you have any supplementary question?
Yes, that's it. I was going to ask what is being...
Yeah, it's on.
It's on.
Yeah. Okay. So that was right. So it was the second part of the question that I wanted to know, and that is what is being done about it. We're going round and round in circles. There's antisocial parking taking place on Crawley Borough land that's destroying your land that belongs to the people of this town. There's nothing being done. The parking wardens can't put a ticket on those vehicles because they're not crossing a double yellow line. They're driving over the parking bay. I've suggested bird's mouth fencing be put up. A butterfly bund you can get a grant from the government to put a butterfly bund up that stops cars driving over. It also provides a habitat for butterflies. Or a bylaw, which would end up as a money spinner for the council.
What's your question now?
What is being done about it?
Thank you.
What?
Councillor Hilton, as a cabinet member, would you like to address this matter?
Although I'm responsible for grass verges, and I do greatly sympathise, the issue about the controlled parking zone is actually, although it's administered by the Crawley Borough Council, is actually the point for the county council. But if we can, I'm not sure what else can, well, what else can be done in terms of there'll be a financial, no. In terms of other, sorry, Mr. Glazebrook, as is on grass verges, my responsibility is really for neighbourhood patch services to go in and clean up the mess afterwards. But it is very, very frustrating.
And a bird's mouth fencing would stop it. Everywhere else has got bird's mouth fencing around there, apart from this particular strip. And that's where it occurs. I've been injured by it. How many other injuries are you going to take before you take action?
I take your point. Sorry, microphone's not working. I take your point about the bird's nest fencing. I've seen it in other parts of the area. If you write to me personally, I will chase it up.
Sorry, what?
Thank you, Councillor Hilton. We have to end the question.
Yeah, I'll give you my card.
Thank you for listening to everybody. I'd like to get some progress, because otherwise I'll be sat back in this chair again.
Thank you.
On the beard.
Yeah.
It's on the beard.
Yeah.
Is there any further questions? Just ask anyone with further questions.
Are there any further questions?
Gentleman at the front.
Right.
Gentleman at the front.
Gentleman at the front, please. Please introduce yourself.
I'm Carl Moyes of West Green. So, a meeting recently, the discussion around the objectives for the year coming up was discussed, which was around the creation of the new town council. And the discussion ruffled a few feathers on one side, and there were some right objections on the other side, discussing around how it should be a proper representative consultation. Now, to maintain integrity, the council should ensure that a consultation is both reliable and valid in its responses. When responses only have 1,000 people out of a possible 117,000, how is less than 1% respondent valid or reliable? To continue with any such plans with such a low initial turnout, how does Crawley Borough Council justify that when it seems a little bit farcical?
To answer this question? Oh, Councillor Jones.
Chair, thank you, Chair. I think it will be me. There is an answer to a written question that's been submitted by one of the councillors, which goes into this in more detail. So I hope you'll be able to find the order paper online, which goes into some detail on this, Mr. Moyes. I think the position that we're in with anything we do as a council is that we will have a consultation, but we will not necessarily get thousands and thousands of people responding to us on anything. I think the highest we ever got was on the parking issue, and that was barely 2,000 responses. When we have a system in this country where we have representative democracy, where your councillors make decisions, and although we do try to consult, to try and get 100% response or anything approaching that just isn't feasible, because you can put a lot of time and a lot of effort into trying to get a response. from the public, and you have to deal with what comes back. And I think essentially the council in this case has done its best, but we're not in the position of having a referendum on these things, because where do you stop? Where do you start? We are following the legislative requirement for a community governance review, which requires 2 consultations to be undertaken. And as councillors and members of the public might be aware, the first has been undertaken. We've received 72% support for the creation of a town council, which is a significant and strong mandate to move forward with. A standalone referendum or town poll would require a full box vote, and this would be the same cost as running an election, and that would come to, in this borough, to about £120,000. And I can't justify that level of expenditure just because some people don't like the results of the consultation. In addition, a referendum would be advisory only. It's not legally binding. The council would still need to consider all the representations and make its decision in line with statutory criteria. And the key point is that the final decision rests with the full council directly, even if a referendum was held. And given the relatively small scale of it as well, it would be strange to object to a parish going ahead when something on a much larger scale, like a unitary or a combined mayoral authority, which will charge much larger shares of the council tax and have far more impact on the community, was not. So it does feel a little odd that people seem to be clutching at this, because we'd never do anything in this council if it was the requirement was that we had the permission of every member of the public to do so.
Do you have any supplementary question?
Yes. So, to loosely paraphrase Duncan Jones at the last meeting, there is a certain amount of people which feel they're being taken for mugs. Would the council commit to having a minimum turnout to actually state that it is reliable and valid? Because less than 1% is definitely not valid or reliable or representative.
Thank you. I believe it's Councillor Jones.
There's nothing in statutory guidance.
Madam Mayor, I don't feel there's anything I can really add to what I've told Mr. Moyes in my first answer. You cannot try and portray this as only half a percentage point of the population have replied, because everyone's had an opportunity. We send out an invitation to everyone to reply, and it's up to them if they do or they don't.
And thank you for your question. Right. Do we have any other questions? Yes, please. Do you want to come forward?
I actually had 2 questions, and it was related to the question of reorganisation. But no, this is my first question. The Socialist Party in October handed into Democratic Services a petition with 1,047 signatures opposing the cuts in the council's budget, and instead arguing for a no-cuts budget, i.e. a funded budget, which is legal. Democratic Services have rejected our petition because we used the word Save Crawley Community Playbus. We were referring to the Play for Children, which the council axed this year, which the council called Outreach Play. The difference is over the use of words. At February's council meeting, you will recall, we opposed the council's proposed budget. And I talked about the axing of Crawley Community Playbus. Every councillor understood what I was referring to. No one opposed the words I used. Will the council allow our petition to be heard by you? The reasons to do this are this. The petition opposes services being cut,
I just say
jobs lost.
Okay. The petition was reviewed. The petition was reviewed by the council. No, I have to answer this question now. The petition was reviewed by the Council Petition Officer, who is the monitoring officer. In line with the Constitution, it was ruled invalid. This was then reviewed and the decision was upheld by an independent senior officer. That is the end of the decision on this matter. Do you have any other question?
Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you. No, it was already replied. Do you have any other question?
Can I have a reply from the council, not yourself? Mr Jones, would you like to say?
No, this question was already replied to you. Do you have any other question?
No councillor wants to reply to me.
There's no need, the councillors need to reply. We've already replied back to you.
I'm asking, does any councillor wish to reply to me?
I have replied back to you. Do you have any other question, please?
Are you asking me if I have a supplementary question?
Yes, please.
Okay. Can I just ask the audience here, did anybody want a second question?
Thank you.
As nobody else
Thank
has a
you.
second question, I would like to ask a second question on another subject.
No, you've had your time. Thank you for your question.
So, even though the 30 minutes is enough, I can't speak again.
You've had your time. You've asked your question.
Is the 30 minutes up?
No, but you've had your time. Thank you.
Has the 30 minutes been up? That's the rule.
It's an individual question you want to take.
And if that's the case,
You've had your time.
Please give me some decency here. I'm requesting the 30 minutes is up, they ask the second question.
You were rejecting it, Lindsay. You allowed a question.
You've already had a question. Thank you.
No, you haven't answered my question. Is the
Moving on to
30
the next
minutes
item.
up? We're allowed 30 minutes. I asked the gentleman behind me if he wanted a second question. It's not like to it. No one.
This is it. We've already answered your question. I'm going to move to the next item.
Is the 30 minutes up?
Yes,
It is.
nearly.
It is now.
Really?
We will now deal with the agenda item 6. I have to move on with the agenda item. Please, you've had your time. Thank you.
But I hadn't. You just said there was time left. You refused to allow me a second question when I make that.
Next one.
We will now deal with the agenda item 6. Consideration of full council recommendation and call-in decision. There are only 2 recommendations for discussion this evening, and the first comes from the Cabinet meeting held on 26 November 2025. Recommendation 1, review of the Statement of Licensing Policy, Gambling Act 2005, 2026 to 2028, starts on page 66. Councillor Jones, please introduce this recommendation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Cabinet Member for Public Protection who's seconding this motion may wish to go into more detail, but I would submit this is a very straightforward update because the Council was largely covering what was needed in the previous statement. Indeed, it is my view that the Council does very well in ensuring that licensing objectives are upheld within the borough, as far as that is within the Council's powers. Of course, as we know with the explosion of internet gambling, where someone can sit in the comfort of their own home and spend a small fortune with the different providers, that what we can do locally is only part of the protection. Internet gambling is not under our control, even if the people who are affected by it live here in the borough. That is a continuing concern for all of us, I'm sure, but of course not one that we can do anything about today. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Yasmin Khan, I believe you're seconding the recommendation?
Yes, I am. And I'm here, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm here to present the revised statement of licence policy under the Gambling Act 2005 for the period of 2026 to 2029. I'm here to seek adoption by the full council. Background. The Gambling Act 2005 requires Croydon Council as the licensing authority to review and publish its statement of licensing policy, Gambling Act 2005, every 3 years. Our current policy expires on the 31st of January 2026. The revised policy will cover from 1st of Feb 2026 to 31st of January 2029. This policy is needed to ensure that we continue to effectively manage and regulate gambling activity across the town to keep our residents and visitors safe with the regulations and the law. It ensures that we can provide We can protect the public, help keep gambling free from criminal activity, money laundering, fraud, and monitor and assess community impact. Protect children and other vulnerable people from being harmed or exploited by gambling. It enables us to set the standard and ensure that businesses are operating responsibly, and gives the Council the powers to take action where there are breaches or areas of concerns. There's no significant variations to the policy, but legislation requires us to review and update this on a regular basis, hence why it has come forward. Consultation. The Council held a statutory consultation between 24th of September and 27th of October and received 3 responses from industry representatives from the Betting and Gaming Council, as well as the Public Health Directorate, which forms part of West Sussex County Council. Key points. There are no significant changes to the overall approach. However, the proposed revisions include clarifying legal duties and operator obligations, including the importance of local area risk assessments, strengthening the public health perspective by better defining gambling harms, considering proximity to vulnerable settings, and improving signposting to support services. These changes are highlighted in bold in the policy document. Recommendations. We ask for this policy to be approved at today's full council. We also recommend delegating authority for future minor amendments to the Head of Community Service and the Cabinet Member for Public Protection. Next steps. Subject to approval today, it will then be advertised to comply with legal requirements and formally adopted. It will take effect from 1st of Feb 2026 for 3 years. Implications. There are no financial impacts. Fees remain at the statutory maximum, which are set by the central government and service, and as far as possible, self-financing without resources to the general fund. This policy is required to provide a framework to the Council as licensing authorities, decision-making, and outlines its regulatory approach and compliance. Equality impacts have been assessed and non-identified. Thank you. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Councillor Jasmine Khan. I will now open up the debate to the floor. Do we have any speakers? No. As there are no further speakers, Councillor Jones, please formally move the recommendation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I formally move.
Is that agreed, or would you like a vote on it? Thank you. The final recommendation arising the Planning Committee meeting held on 1st December 2025, Recommendation 2, proposed change to the Constitution Planning Committee function from page 85. Normally, the Chair of the Planning Committee would present recommendation from the committee. However, as the recommendation is a constitutional change, I have accepted a request from the Chair of the Governance Committee to introduce the item. Councillor Lunnan, please introduce this recommendation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As members, and I'm sure the public are well aware, we've had the issue of water neutrality holding back development or limiting development over the last few years. And now, in no small part, thanks to the lobbying of this council on the issue and also other parties, we have managed to have Natural England withdraw the water neutrality position statement, which is good news for getting things building. What's unfortunate about that is obviously there's a number of applications, specifically major applications, that have passed through the planning process with water neutrality conditions stuck to them, and they can't just disregard those requirements now. They need to go through another planning update to get those water neutrality requirements removed from them. Specifically, this is talking about major developments. This is also true of minor developments. However, minor developments will be already handled by officers. Major developments, technically, you need to go through a full planning committee decision again, or indeed decisions made by decisions relating to the council-owned property would also need to go through the planning committee. So, upon consultation with the chair and vice chair of planning and also the chair and vice chair of governance, we've accepted a constitutional change that means major applications that took place with water neutrality requirements will now, if they apply to have a removal of those water neutrality requirements, they will be handled with by the officers. The intent of this is to speed up those processes and also reduce the workload on the planning committee, as we expect there to be a significant increase in planning applications anyway with the removal of the water neutrality planning statement. That's what this does. Obviously, anybody can still call in a decision that officers make to the planning committee. So, you know, if anybody is concerned about them, they can call them in. But nevertheless, this is what the constitutional change is going to do. So that is what we're recommending, and I formally move.
Thank you. Councillor Rana, I believe you are seconding the recommendation.
Yes, I am, Madam Chair. Yes, yes, please, I would like to speak. Good evening, everyone. Water neutrality has impacted the planning department and has now left a heavy workload. As for the planning committee, it is going to be a very challenging year ahead. There will be 2 extra meetings which have been added to the calendar. We will be having some major planning applications. Some of them were first submitted before the COVID pandemic. We will be having 5 committee meetings in the first 10 weeks of the new year. The committee members have already been informed of their hectic schedules. I want to thank the officers for their hard work and dedication. They do a wonderful job and very brilliant presentation with so much passion. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now open up the debate to the floor. Councillor Dunk.
Thank you and good evening, Madam Mayor. The Conservative Group will be supporting recommendation 2. I note as well, actually, interestingly, that there's a reserved item for debate on water neutrality later on in the agenda, which I'm not quite sure why, given that we have this here. This would be a perfectly opportune time to discuss it. I think we can all welcome the removal of the water neutrality restrictions, which, in the grand scheme of things, have not been helpful for many reasons, affecting the delivery of housing, the impact on the economy, and so on and so forth. Although I do find it interesting that it just takes a further study to suddenly change the overall dynamics, because clearly the amount of, if you like, water stress only increases as development in the wider area increases and population grows. I do welcome the recommendation that it does feel a sensible, pragmatic thing to do, given, as we've already heard from members, that we will be more busy, planning officers and the planning committee will be more busy. That is without a doubt. There is a backlog of planning applications to deal with, and of course we'll be getting these, is it called Section 73, whatever it's called, applications coming forward as well. So it does make sense that we increase the scheme of delegation to reflect the new circumstances. I think as well on a national level, I think the government want to provide 300 new planners nationally. Although you can't just magic them out of thin air. They do take some time to come forward. But certainly our own planners and planning department are going to be specifically busy, especially busy right now with a backlog, and of course new applications coming forward that would not otherwise have come forward. So this feels the right thing to do. We welcome the removal of water neutrality restrictions that will enable building and planning to hopefully be full steam ahead. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Do we have any other speakers? No. There are no further speakers. Councillor Lannan, please formally move the recommendation.
Formally moved.
Is that agreed? Thank you. The next item is councillors' question time. We have 30 minutes for this item. All councillors who ask a question will be allowed a supplementary question. As usual, and where possible, I will rotate between the groups when I take questions. We will start with the 2 written questions which have been submitted in advance. These are detailed in the supplementary agenda from page 9. This includes the responses. Councillor Lanza, do you wish to ask a supplementary question or ask a different question when I open it to the floor? Councillor Lanza.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No, I'm fine, and thank the cabinet member for.
Question.
Sorry.
Or a different question.
I'd like to ask a different question. Yeah. Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question is to Councillor Jones as leader of the council. on the consultation for establishing a Crawley Town Council. Now, I don't know if he's aware, but some years ago, this council organised a public referendum on the establishing of an NHS trust for Crawley, which we had no direct authority over. So the precedent exists for holding a public ballot, as it were. And while I accept that we would never achieve a 100% response to a consultation, and not every age group of the 117,000 people would respond to it, we've seen concerns about the possible council tax precept, which could run into hundreds of pounds for a town or parish council. And by the way, I want to reference Councillor Jones's response to Councillor Crow's written question, because that response illustrates almost total uncertainty about the level of distribution of the physical leaflet asking Crawley residents for their opinion. Put another way, we just don't know who's received it and who hasn't. It's almost a position of total ignorance. Given that, doesn't that make the case for such a fundamental change in the governance for Crawley residents to actually hold a referendum? And I don't necessarily accept the cost that he quoted earlier. There's other ways of holding a referendum so that we can understand the definitive voice of Crawley people on the way that they wish to be governed. This especially being the case where I reiterate that the consultation you've so far undertaken, we are pretty much clueless about who that consultation reached.
15 times on social media.
Chair, sorry, Madam Mayor, I suspect we're going to get a few questions like this from the opposition tonight. I mean, I can understand them clutching at straws, but for Councillor Lanza to refer to some decades ago exercise where they looked into some involvement with the NHS, which presumably was back when the council had a lot more money and no doubt was using any sort of expense on this from the NHS budget, which is significantly larger than this council's. I think it's again another one of these false comparisons that he seems increasingly fond of throwing into the mix on the grounds that perhaps obfuscation will confuse people into thinking that things aren't being done correctly. We are doing nothing differently at this council than we would ever do with any piece of policy that we have. We've been out to consultation. We've received a very respectable result, and that's the long and the short of it. We seem to be getting increasingly every minor thing is being clutched at as some kind of reason for not going ahead with the community governance review. We are following the statutory requirements of the community governance review to the letter, and one of those things this includes everything in local government. You cannot make decisions in a participatory representative democracy on the grounds that everyone is fully on board or knows about everything at all times. It's not practical, it's not achievable. And again, as I said to Mr. Moyes at the public question times, it is so curious that given the relatively small scale of this as well, it was strange to call for a referendum for a parish council when something on a much larger scale, like the unitary or combined mayoral authority, as I said, which will charge much larger shares of the council tax, they're all perfectly on the other side, seem to be perfectly happy with that, and it's not an issue, and they'll go along with that. The opposition are being ridiculous on this, almost grasping for any excuse to try and stop it happening. The public aren't daft, Madam Mayor, and neither are we.
Do you wish to ask a supplementary question?
Please, Madam Mayor. Well, I thank, to some extent, the leader of the council for his response. The consultation on the NHS Trust was funded by this council. It was not funded by the NHS. And look, this is so fundamental. And does he really think it defensible to make a comparison with the legislation on the mayoral combined authority and on the potential unitary local authorities, when these decisions are totally within the remit of central government, the Labour government. They're nothing to do with us, whereas the establishment of a town council is very much to do with us and would represent a most fundamental change in local government for Crawley people, over which we have some control. Given all of that information I've just given him, would he like to take a second opportunity to reconsider his position on a referendum so that we might know what people actually think, rather than rely upon a hapless distribution of a consultation leaflet?
Hear, hear.
Madam Mayor, Councillor Lanza ought to know the rules of the council by now. We've already had this debate and the will of the majority of the council was against a referendum. There was a vote on this and to be honest, I'm not even sure this is in order. It can't be revisited for 6 months after the decision was taken. But again, as I said, a standalone referendum would require a full box vote and that would be the same cost as running an election. If the Conservatives want to spend £120,000 on a referendum that isn't even legally binding and we'd have to make the final decision taking everything into account, then that doesn't seem to me to be a very sensible use of public money. And it seems highly hypocritical when they've been complaining about levels of a town council precept that would be pennies in comparison.
Thank you. Councillor Crowe, do you wish to ask a supplementary question?
No. Thank you, Madam Mayor. No, I don't wish to ask a supplementary question, but I would like to ask a normal question. Do you wish me to do that now? Or later? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. The first thing, I will just comment that I noticed that Mr. Burnham's number of petitioners is very similar to the consultation response for the town council, but those two different groups of people are being treated very, very differently. My question is to Councillor Nick Hilton. I think it's over there somewhere. So I am signed up to the email alerts for waste and recycling from Crawley Borough Council, and last week I received an update about the changes to refuse and recycling collections over the Christmas period. And I was a little bit surprised to see that we were, well, depending on what day of the week your refuse is collected, if it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, it's going to be 1 day earlier than usual next week, or if your collection's on Monday, it'll be 2 days earlier. In my 23 years or 22 years on this council, I don't recall a Christmas ever where we've had the collections be earlier rather than a day or two later, or even on the same day. So my question is, what is the operational reason as to why collections are being brought forward? And while I appreciate that email notifications have gone out, clearly not everyone is signed up to those notifications. And what concerns does he have that some people might miss their rubbish day next week?
I know, yeah.
It's on.
It's on. Oh, it's on. Thank you. I was, as Cabinet Member of Environment, Sustainability and Climate Change, aware of these changes, and I was informed about them. I do know at the onset that every single bin has had a notice this week, because I actually discussed it with the officers in Metcalfe Way when I visited on Monday morning, to thank not only the waste and recycling team for all their hard work all year round, but also for the contractors for all their work all year round to provide a seamless service. Obviously, I was aware of the change in Christmas hours. In terms of the particular point about the operational, obviously we want both our contractors to have, like other people, 2 or 3 days complete rest because they work hard all year. We've got a really good relationship with our contractors. And as far as I did ask the question as a portfolio holder, and I was told that, contrary to what Councillor Crowe just said, that this has been done before when they've moved it forward. So on that basis, on that decision making, I accepted it, and I still think it was a good decision. And as ever, we don't expect any problems over the Christmas period with it. Obviously, any changes, we are very, very. A lot of this, I'm going to operational management, but generally, in terms of collection days and stuff, we are very sensitive to changes to collection days, and we do our best as a council to have business as usual, have a seamless service, and provide the best possible service to our customers as possible.
Madam Mayor, I do have, thank you, Councillor Hilton, for your response. And first, I'll just clarify, I'm not being critical. I'm seeking to find out what the rationale was for the change. I still wasn't aware of any year where it has changed like that, where it's been a day previously. And also, not everyone has their own bins. A lot of people live in flats. And so, you know, I live in a flat and I haven't received notification that way, although I have by email. So I welcome the fact that you gave an answer. You don't always get answers from cabinet members about the fact about allowing some days off together for the contractors for the refuse collection. And personally, I think that is a good idea. And I think, would you like to join with me in thanking the contractors who are working in the winter, who obviously become very, very busy at this time of year because they suddenly get more lists to have to deal with, as well as the backlogs as well that do inevitably build up. So just to offer our thanks, I'm sure he'd wish to join me in that for the work that they do, especially this time of year.
We've had 12 minutes or 30 minutes councillor question time. So we've had 12 minutes of 30 minutes councillor question time. There are 14 members waiting to ask questions and supplementary. Please, can I ask brief questions and responses? I'll now open the floor to any members wishing to ask question of either cabinet members or committee chairs. Both groups have provided me with a list of their questionnaire and their preferred order, so I will use that list to guide the debate. We will start the councillors. We will start with Councillor Lunnan, followed by Councillor Jaggard. Councillor Lunnan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question is for the cabinet member for housing. At least a year ago, there was a proposal to build some housing on some garages in Lansbury Road in Broadfield. It's all gone rather quiet on that, and I just wondered if we could have an update if they're going to be built or if that scheme's been put to bed. It's not on. Don't press it.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Lunnan, for your question. I can confirm that the reason why it's gone quiet is that we have no plans whatsoever to build on that site, and that will remain the case all the while that this administration is led by Labour councillors. I hope that provides the reassurance you require.
Thank you. Councillor Jaggard.
Thank you. Good evening. Sorry, good evening. My question is to Councillor Hilton. Since our climate change scrutiny panel all those years ago, our vehicles for Crawley Homes, neighbourhood services, environmental health, etc., have been changing gradually over to electric vehicles. In the November budget, the Chancellor announced a 3p per mile electric vehicle tax. How many of our vehicles will be potentially impacted by this additional tax, and how much do you think it's going to cost us?
I don't know how many EVs we've got. Should I mention HVOs? No. I would have to. Is it part of your portfolio, Bob?
Sorry?
Resources.
What is?
EVs. No.
It's county council, isn't it, EVs?
Yeah. No, council EVs. Oh, sorry. So, thank you for your question, Councillor Jaggard. I can't give you an answer here and now. I don't know. Although I'm responsible for sustainability and climate change, and obviously it's an important part of what we do, in terms of the actual fleet, I can give you those figures here right now, but we can write to you and give you those figures as soon as we can.
Don't just leave it.
Am I? Oh, okay, cool. I'm on. So my question is to Councillor Sue Mullins. This has been an ongoing issue. At Broadfield Barton, I have noticed the unfortunate decay of the mosaic on there, and it is quite unfortunate because it was a very lovely thing that was done by the community. So I just wanted to ask what is being done by this, what is being done about it, and can we have an update on this situation?
Thank you, Councillor Khan, for that question. It's really appropriate that you've asked me that question because something quite exciting happened this week. As people who know Broadfield well, we've had a large mosaic up there, approximately 3.5 metres by 2.5 metres. It's been up there for about 15 years, and it was put up with a lot of input from the local community, especially from local schools, and it was a much loved part of the Barton. Unfortunately, over the years, like all things, it has deteriorated. Water has managed to ingress into behind the tiles, and some of the tiles have come off, and it started to look its age and rather sad and sorry for itself. So we didn't want to lose it altogether. So we've had a look around, and we've managed to find some money in the SPF fund to hopefully we're going to have a lovely new mosaic, but it won't be exactly new because we've already spoken to a very interesting artist this week who's come to the Crawley, who's had a look at the original mosaic, spoken to the original artist, and has taken on board quite a lot of the elements that were in the original one. We can't replace the mosaic exactly as it was, and I don't think we'd want to because it was of its time and of the people who were involved at that time. But some of the elements from that mosaic will be represented in a new one, which we are hoping will be ready sometime around March. Obviously, these things are a bit of a movable feast, and you have to be ready when the artist has completed the commission. March 26th, we're talking about. We're very excited about it. It was lovely to meet her. She came along with some drawings, with some ideas of what we could put into the mosaic. She also brought along a large selection of tiles and showed how we can make the mosaic not just new and exciting, but a little bit more modern, using different textures, doing different shapes of tiles, mirror tiles. I am really excited about it. And having seen drawings on a piece of paper and then seeing some of her stuff online that she's done before, some of the ideas that she can do, what she can produce, I think it's going to be something very exciting and very eye-catching in the Barton. And what's really important, if you look at the word Barton...
Thank you, Councillor Sue Mullins.
Oh, sorry, have I got a nudge? But anyway, come and see it when it's ready in March, because we're really excited about it.
Thank you. Councillor Ramsey.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question is for the Cabinet Member for the Environment. Earlier in the year, you'll remember that there was a bit of back and forth on the budget, and one of the revisions that there was an extra 170 grand's worth of income from litter fines. And it was only because of this that we were able to actually present a balanced budget. And I think a lot of the public, and myself included, thought that figure was quite optimistic. So I was just wondering if I could check in on, are we actually on course to get that 170 grand worth of extra income from litter enforcement? Thanks.
I'll pass on to you.
It's on.
It's on. Thank you for the question, Councillor Ramsey. Actually, it's actually a finance matter, and actually it's a matter for the council leader, Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you to Councillor Ramsey for his question. It's quite a detailed question relating to something that's in the financial targets. I'd have to check with the officers and get a written answer back to you, but my understanding is that we are largely on track with our savings, but on that particular one, I'd have to seek further advice.
No, thanks.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question's for the Cabinet Member for Leisure and Wellbeing, Councillor Chris Mullins. I welcome the investment that's being made in the pathways at Goffs Park and would appreciate any further information you can share around when that work is likely to take place and whether there are any further plans for improvements at the park. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to answer that question. The park itself is perhaps the second most important park after Tilgate that we have, and we want to develop it to sort of, not the same as Tilgate, but to give a different offer to Tilgate, and it's already proving to be very popular in the things that we've achieved already. We've achieved the creation of a tree trail featuring 20 notable trees, planting an additional blossom trail through 106 monies, development of a sensory garden designed to provide a relaxing space for visitors, and dedicated to Janet Roskilly, who led the Friends of Goffs Park for many years, and installation of memorial benches, which will soon be available for dedication to family and friends. We are looking ahead to further improvements, and the pathways is very much one of our achievements that we need to complete. We see them as very important for access. People might come into the park in wheelchairs or by the means and need to get around, and some of our paths are what you might call historical paths amongst trees, and are uneven and maybe not as safe as they should be to walk on. So the plan is to look at all of our pathways and to have a good pathway system through the park. We will be spending something like 27k on paths, and we intend to start somewhere in February 26 to start to improve these paths. That's very much in line with our intentions. We have the Goffs Park Working Group, of course, as you all know, which is cross-party, and the decisions on that working group are made by both sides of this chamber. So I think that the future for Goffs Park is incredibly good, and I look forward very much to the completion of many of the ideas that we've got, and perhaps some more to come.
Thank you. Councillor Imitiaz Khan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A quick question to Councillor Nick regarding the the tree surgery. The tenders for that, I believe, have not been renewed, or we're looking at renewing it for tree surgeons in Crawley. Could you just give an update as to where we are with that, if possible? Thank you.
I can't give an exact update on the trees, but obviously at the actual contract, but obviously, as you will know, I've taken a keen interest in this matter since the very first email I received from Councillor Ramsey the day I got appointed as a cabinet member. I think the important thing about trees is we love our trees, the canopies, etc. in the town. But in terms of, we got a set priority in terms of timescales and dealing with dead and dangerous trees, and I think we do a very good job. It's a very specialist order, but I'd have to find out more details outside the meeting in terms of the actual contract obligations at the moment, and where we sit with that.
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. My question is for Councillor Sue Mullins. Many of the councillors here tonight recently attended the event at the COVID Avenue of Trees Memorial in the Memorial Gardens. And thank you to the officers and the cabinet member for arranging this very, very moving event. Are there any further plans to add to this memorial in the future?
Thank you. I was delighted to attend that event in the Memorial Gardens. The first thing I noticed was when I drove along College Road, if you look then across towards the park, the new avenue of trees is really pertinent. It really shows up. Even though the trees at the moment are just bare branches, they really already look very imposing. 22 trees in a neat and orderly line flanking the path all the way along. Really already is making a statement in the park. We're hoping to have some benches in place. If you look along there, you'll see there are 3 pads in place already waiting for them. They should be installed sometime in March. And I'm hoping that members on both sides will join us in the Memorial Gardens to launch it in March, when hopefully the trees are just beginning to come into some sort of leaves and we can start to see what it's really going to look like. But those benches will be installed before that event, and there will be a plaque so that people will know what it's all about. And I'm hoping, because it's on the quieter side of the park, it'll be a lovely place for people just to sit and to think about all those people that we lost, not just in this town, but people in this town lost people from all over this country and also all over abroad. So I think it's going to be a very special place for Crawley. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bidwell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
My question is to Councillor Rana as the chair of the Planning Committee. As referenced earlier by Councillor Lunnon and actually in your own speech earlier, the water neutrality regulations are going to cause a vastly increased amount of applications that are backlogged. Actually referenced in the written question response by Councillor Nawaz, 21 backlogged applications. So due to the water neutrality regulations being lifted, it was initially decided by us that from January meetings would begin at 7 p.m. in order to ensure that residents can have planning applications addressed more efficiently. However, I had later been made aware that this decision had been reversed. The reason provided was that it was preferred by the majority of members, although I was disappointed to learn from Conservative members that they had not been consulted. Please, can you explain why only some members were given a say in this?
Thank you, Councillor Bidwell. Yes, I do. I mean, what happened was, it's just that everybody was consulted first, and then they decided no, they don't want to. They want to stay at 7:30, and then afterwards, I think we had another consultation again, and only us two, maybe the chair, vice chair, and yourself, and me. We decided 7 o'clock probably be best for us because of so much workload. But then when it was being discussed, and the other members heard of. It's just that some of them got busy schedules. They work in London, other people, they can't come here on time. And there were quite a few, actually. If it was just 1 or 2 members and they said, sorry, we can't come, would have been okay, but there were quite a few of them. And I'm afraid, because of the quite a few of them, the meeting would have, they would have all come at 7:30. So they wouldn't have come at 7 o'clock at all. And then we still have to wait for them at 7:30. That's why we decided, yes, I decided, and I told Jess about it, yes, I'm sorry, it has to go back to 7:30, because that's the time they used to do beforehand as well. It's always been 7:30, and they were used to 7:30 starts, and that's why I'm sorry about that. We decided to go back to 7:30 again. I know 7 o'clock is a good time. It suits me fine, but it didn't suit everybody, and it suits you as well, but I'm afraid it didn't suit everyone.
Thank you. Do you wish to ask a supplementary question?
Please, thank you. So I think my point was more on the fact that only some members have been consulted on the decision, some hadn't. So with this in mind, and with members of the Planning Committee in attendance tonight, I'm aware not all are here, but most, I feel it would only be right to allow all members, not just a few, to make their voices heard during the next meeting. Therefore, does the Chair agree that this topic could be revisited at our next meeting to give everyone a fair say in the matter?
Okay, we can try again though, but because it wasn't, they came up to me, I had members coming up to me and saying, voicing their concerns. We can try again maybe, if you like, in the new year, we can have another meeting, maybe with them, Jess and everybody together, and we can just go back on the time again and see what everybody's preferences are. Yes, we can do that.
Thank you. Councillor Kaila Abu Musa.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening, all. My question today is for Councillor Hilton. Sorry for that. I understand there have been some real improvement made to Kingsgate car park in the town centre since it was changed into a short-term car park in the autumn. However, I know local residents are still concerned that the lift there is still not working in the car park there. Do the council have any plan, either replace or repair the lift in Kingsgate in the future? Thank you very much.
Don't touch you. Thank you. It's very good to have a question tonight from councillors, so another one. Thank you very much. In terms of our car parking strategy, which we agreed last year, Kingsgate and its redesignation as a short-term car park is important to us, and it's something where we've looked at it, and in terms of public safety and customer experience, we're always looking at different measures to improve that experience. And in terms of the lift, although it's something very dear to our heart and it's a key priority for us going forward, and I can hopefully, subject to budget confirmation, say is a key priority for us for replacement lift at Kingsgate in the new financial year. I should add that there is lots of other things which we've done. Obviously, we've realigned the disabled parking spaces and kept them on the bottom floor. But going forward, we've had motion sensors put in and in the stairwells and CCTV, and this has greatly improved our measures against antisocial behaviour, and actually is reduced greatly. Also, I should have mentioned that we've had regular patrols. We've got designated officer of civil protection teams going in there on a regular basis. And so in terms of public safety, we are looking at all different measures, including putting LED lights in. So as part of an experience to increase it, the lifts is definitely a big top option for us going forward for next year.
Thank you. As we have passed 30 minutes of Councillors' question time, I will go for one more question, and then we'll finish the Councillor question time. Councillor Imran Ashraf.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question is to Councillor Nawaz. I understand the Crawley Market was moved from its old location, Hazlitt Avenue, to Queensway around April this year. How the market is doing at its new location? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Ashraf, for your very good question towards the end, and finishing off with a very positive report from on that. I'm sure you will all agree with me, relocating the market into the Queensway, we all seen a significant growth and very positive feedback with a refreshed market outlook with the new gazebo designs and everything. I'd just like to share some of the facts with you guys as well with this council. On Wednesdays during the week, we averaging 6 to 8 stalls and 7 to 9 stalls on Fridays and Saturday, which is definitely a big up, which is almost doubled what we were doing on Hazlitt Avenue, where we were 2 to 3 on weekdays and weekends, Friday and Saturday, 4 to 5. There are some really long-serving traders have been back into there, with some new ones also came to join us, and the income has actually been doubled. So from 1,000 to 1,800, which does show it reflecting a stronger participation. And I personally have visited few times, and traders' feedback is overwhelmingly positive. The value of central location, and shops and traders, and also the shoppers are very, very happy with that relocation. And I think it's now probably time to look at it and how we can expand further and diversify our market, given that how positively it's been received. And I think it's a very, very good move to bring that in there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Atif Nawaz. I call upon the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Ayling, to move receipt of the reports of the meeting as set out in Agenda Item 6 on page 25. Councillor Ayling.
Thank you. I move that the reports of the Audit, Licensing and Planning Committees, Overview and Scrutiny Commission and the Cabinet be received. Is that agreed? Thank you.
Thank you. We have 2 items reserved for the debate as detailed on page 19 of the order paper. We will now consider that item, which is from the Planning Committee held on 4th November 2025. Minute 8, update on water neutrality. Councillor Rana, as the Chair of the Planning Committee, you will have the final speaking right on this discussion. This item has been reserved by the Labour Group. Councillor Jones, I believe you are wishing to speak first on this item for debate. Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do indeed wish to speak and to explain to Councillor Crowe, who was wondering why we didn't discuss this in the actual recommendation. the main reason is that was rather more addressing a sort of technical point about how to deal with business, how to get existing applications through. Whereas I rather wanted, with this update on water neutrality, to actually just pause and actually take stock of how this started and where we've come and what we've gone through with all this. And in doing that, I would reference the housing emergency, which was announced in February 2024, which this council did. And I think I'm right in saying still one of the only councils, if not the only council in England that's done that. But I think it was very far-sighted of us, and it absolutely addressed a key problem in the borough. Water neutrality was one of the key cited factors for that. And this restriction that was imposed in 2021 by Natural England brought the proud track record we have in Crawley, in the borough of housing and social housing, to a halt overnight. And it wasn't just housing, however, Madam Mayor. This affected all development where the effect of that development would be to increase overall water usage without savings having been made elsewhere in the system. And the most well-known example of that, perhaps, I would suggest, was the Taco Bell unit in the High Street being prevented from opening because it couldn't satisfy the water neutrality requirements for a change of use planning application to be permitted. But there were many others. It permeated the activities of our communities, from the biggest thing down to some of the smallest things. And whilst water scarcity has become an increasing problem in this country, nowhere else has had water neutrality restrictions placed upon them. There was simply no instruction manual for this council to follow. So working with other councils affected, in particular Horsham and Chichester, this council set about finding a way to allow development to take place. And there were notable successes for Crawley in this work. Jointly with key stakeholders, developing a pathway through the planning system to allow development to progress, demonstrating how water credits could be developed at scale, which would then allow new housing development to come forward through the retrofitting of thousands of Crawley Homes units, something that also delivered impressive savings for our tenants. Indeed, we became the very first local authority to ever have a local plan adopted under water neutrality restrictions. And the success in these areas and the innovation involved were highly commended by the LGA Corporate Peers Challenge team and were part of why the council won the South East Planning of the Year at the RTPI Awards. Now, despite this progress and finding a way through water neutrality, inevitably it was such an intractable problem that development would continue to be hindered. And it also became clear that there was no short-term, medium likelihood of restrictions being lifted through Southern Water sorting out the infrastructure. Indeed, this council was informed that a full lifting of restrictions was not expected until 2040. Now, this council led a joint council lobbying effort to ministers to raise awareness of this matter, recognising that only a cross-departmental approach would resolve this. And I personally wrote directly to ministers on behalf of all councils, finally securing a meeting at the Houses of Parliament with then Minister Murray Moore, who was the first to understand the problem and to commit to looking into it. Now, the Chief Executive and I went away from Parliament that day full of optimism, but the election was called the very next day, ironically. But lobbying, I'm pleased to say, continued with the new government, successfully securing a meeting with Minister Emma Hardy in DEFRA, who again took this issue seriously. Separately, this council continues to lobby within MHCLG, and we really have to pay tribute to Matthew Pennycook as well. This resulted in the water neutrality restrictions being lifted at the end of October 2025, not 2040. And to obtain this outcome, we have removed the development blight on a town that desperately needs it, not least in our efforts to tackle our housing emergency. Madam Mayor, over 1,000 residential units were prevented from progressing through the planning process within the Crawley Borough boundaries as a result of water neutrality. And it is arguable that these units would have come forward for development subject to planning permission over the period of time. The withdrawal of water neutrality offers an excellent opportunity to restore momentum to housing development in Crawley, which prior to the COVID pandemic and then water neutrality had Crawley as one of the best performing on housing delivery against annual targets in the country. Madam Mayor, I think it was worth just reserving this for debate, really just to recognise the sheer difference this council has made to our communities. And I look forward, now we're able to do it, to provide the homes, the social housing, the council housing that people in this borough on this waiting list sorely need. And that is going to be one of our major priorities in the coming years.
Councillor Jones. Do we have any further speakers? Councillor Lancer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thanks to Councillor Jones for raising this. I mean, I think the council has been really innovative, and he gave the example of retrofitting Crawley homes with water-saving measures to compensate for water neutrality. He also mentioned the regional RTPI awards, but he didn't mention, and so I'll add in, I believe we were also nominated for the national RTPI award of Planning Authority of the Year, which is quite significant. And I think I'm right in saying, and it doesn't diminish the achievement. I think we came 6th nationally in that process. I just think it's worth noting and congratulating the planning team on winning the regional Planning Authority of the Year and being nominated for the national award. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further speakers? No. Councillor Rana.
Thank you. I just want to add, thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to add, it is very good news actually for developers and development, as they have been stalled for a very long time. And I'm sure we are all very excited at the planning committee, as we will be very busy and it will be a very challenging time for us. Thank you.
We will now consider the final item, which is from the Cabinet held on 26 November 2025, Minute 8, 2025-2026, Budget Monitoring. Quarter 2, Councillor Jones, as the relevant Cabinet member, will have the final speaking rights on this discussion. This item has been reserved by both the Labour and Conservative group. Councillor Yasmin Khan, I believe you are wishing to speak first on this item for debate, followed by Councillor Lanza. Councillor Yasmin Khan.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for allowing me to speak on this reserved item, this time in my capacity as a ward councillor for Southgate. I'm thoroughly delighted by the decision made at the Cabinet meeting, which in 2026 will see a further 600 homes benefit from the grant funding for Wave 3 of the Government's Housing Decarbonisation Fund of £5.735 million to begin work on the next phase of providing warmer, more sustainable houses. While this will help towards our net zero targets, what many of my residents will get through this work, including all the flats in Cabin Court, Downham Court and Hamilton Court, is upgrading the insulation and installing new heating systems in their homes, making them more comfortable, reducing their energy bills and improving air quality. Over 2,200 homes in our local stock, including leaseholders, have already had this work done on them, and this will mean that a significant number more will join this achievement. Having spoken to many residents in this part of the neighbourhood recently who are feeling the cost of living pressures as much as anyone else, they have told me that they think this is excellent news. I absolutely think we should be recognising this government money in addition to the investment in warmer homes Crawley Homes is making as part of this ourselves as a council, and I understand that we are one of the few councils who have successfully bid for all waves of the fund. That's great work by our officers, so well done to them. It's our residents, nearly 3,000 households across the borough and now even more in Southgate, who will win from this and by the end of this phase of the work. And I would like to thank the Cabinet Member for Housing to pass thanks of this council back to the government, because this is making a huge difference to our council housing stock here in Crawley. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Yasmin Khan. Councillor Lanza.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There's some good news in this outturn report for the second financial quarter. One of them is the progress on the savings. So we're anticipating making £1.46 million of savings, revenue savings in the full financial year. There's also good news on the reserves, in that the general fund reserves are predicted to be more than £1 million higher than the minimum provision that we need. And again, that is good news, as is the improved projection for the revenue budget, where we see that there's a positive variance going up from about £750,000 to £1.13 million. So a positive variance of 354,000 on the revenue budget. But it is quite important to consider three factors which have influenced that. They influenced the kind of higher income that the council has recorded. And one of these is in the report, and it's the right to buy. And when we look at the right to buy applications that have been processed, there have already been 63 of these in the first 2 quarters of 2025-26. That compares with the previous financial year, where the full year right to buy was just 21 units. And if you compare up to the second quarter this year, we got 63 units versus 11 in the previous financial year at this point. And so we might ask ourselves, why has this variance occurred? It's a positive thing in a sense, because it increases cash balances. It's not hard to imagine that if you've sold 63 properties, you're going to have millions of pounds more cash balances. But we might ask ourselves why this has occurred. I'm going to suggest it's partly because of what I'm going to call political threat, and namely the Labour manifesto indicating an intention to review the right to buy arrangements. And I should say that in the history of right to buy, right across the political spectrum pretty much, there's been huge enthusiasm, including amongst Labour MPs and Labour councillors, to buy their own homes, which is brilliant. Nothing wrong with that. But political statements on the left of British politics have been somewhat less enthusiastic. But it's actions that count, isn't it? Not words. People actually buying their homes through right to buy. But nevertheless, I'm going to contend that this massive increase, it's a 6-fold increase in right to buy applications processed, is a consequence of political threat. The other point would be the impact of inflation. Now, we had good news today of inflation as measured by Consumer Price Index slackening to 3.2%. But it's taken a long time to get there. Well above target. And it's still well above the Bank of England target of 2%. And it's a major contributor to the improved revenue position of this council. The third factor is the capital programme, and this Conservative group has moved amendments to the budget in the past to ask for a review of the capital programme because we didn't necessarily believe it would be achievable. So we've seen the current year's capital programme. It's projected that residents will lose 31% of the benefit of that capital programme because 31% of it is being shifted into future years because it cannot be delivered. Which is disappointing because the political leadership of this council signed off that capital programme. Now, I sometimes hear, and I think it occurred at the Overview and Scrutiny Commission, it might have occurred at Cabinet, that water neutrality is held up as a reason for this. But that's a strange thing, because when you look at the report, the detailed report that went to Cabinet on 26th of November, the factors influencing the delay in the capital programme are listed, and water neutrality is not among them. So it's a bit surprising to hear it used as a reason when it doesn't actually appear in the report. So, not decrying in any way the achievement of revenue savings that have been delivered by this council of its own volition, there are 3 dominant factors
1
there.
minute left.
3 dominant factors there which have influenced the revenue outturn to date. Right to buy receipts from political threat, inflation through a failure to control, and a capital programme through a failure to deliver. Now, 2 of those elements, right to buy and inflation, can be substantially controlled and influenced by a good national government, if we had one. The third one, of course, is more the responsibility of this Crawley Borough Council. But let's be mindful when you approve your next capital programme of the realities of how effective you are at delivering that capital programme, rather than over-promising and under-delivering. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Irvine.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, I'd like to thank Councillor Khan for her positive feedback from her ward on the decarbonisation programme. It's always good to hear good news and positive feedback from ward members, straight from the mouths of the people who are benefiting from this. And I think this work is very important. It's very important for the existing householders to save the money, and also for future generations who will I hope benefit from us decreasing the amount of carbon that we emit. So all round, I think it's a very good thing, and I hope all councillors will support this. And of course, we do have still, despite what Councillor Lancer says, we still do have a large housing stock, and it is going to take time to get the whole stock decarbonised. I kind of liked some of what Councillor Lander said because it was a bit provocative, but and I can't get into a great long debate about right to buy tonight because to be honest with you, Madam Mayor, life is far too short for that. But I will say that in 1988, when Nigel Lawson was Chancellor of the Exchequer and Margaret Thatcher was still in office, the Tory government was letting all sorts of financial constraints let rip. This council was selling this council stock off at the rate of 100 council homes a week. So 63 a year in response to what Councillor Lands perceives as a threat is fairly negligible. And you could also think that with the measures that the new Labour government is bringing in, that those numbers will reduce greatly to the extent that they reduced when John Prescott was the cabinet member responsible for housing and introduced a series of regional discounts for council right to buy, so that in areas where housing costs were high, such as the South East, then the discounts were reduced, so it made it not quite so advantageous for people to buy their homes. And let's not forget, right, it's not just about people wanting to buy their homes. Fair enough, they want to do that. Can't argue with that. But there is also a lot of unseen money behind all these firms promoting right to buy and seeking to exploit it. And yes, okay, so right to buy does improve our capital funds, but right to buy also has quite a big impact on our housing revenue account. And without the rent coming in that was provided by those properties, of course, there's less that we can do to improve and develop our council housing. And that to me is a bit of a tragedy. And don't forget that a lot of what was sold under right to buy has actually passed from the people who originally bought them into the private sector, which up to recently has not always been all that well regulated, and with the result some of the tenants in the private sector have suffered. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Irvine. Councillor Russell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Risk of sounding like another one of the Councillor Lanza fan club. I do find myself agreeing with much of what he said, particularly with regard to the budget and the way in which the figures were put together to balance it. Despite that agreement, however, I find myself coming back to a slightly different position. I won't take too much of the Chamber's time. I have the fortune to sit on the OSC and also on the Audit Committee, and I've seen the phenomenal work that's been done by officers as they try and balance the books, they seek the savings, they try and find ways in which to create those balanced budgets. And what stunned me in the brief time that I've been a councillor is the pressure that has been put on local authority finance again and again and again. And that pressure results from a political decision of introducing austerity in 2010. And you can grind and moan and whinge, but since 2010, local authorities again and again and again have been asked to do more with less. Now, in the context of the budget monitoring and where we're going in the future, and I wanted to actually ask this in councillors' questions, I would welcome Now, I've been searching this afternoon, and I would hope that our council has been looking for the announcements this afternoon. I haven't yet found the figures. But I would ask the council leader if he might be able to comment if he's had the chance to see and to digest the announcements that were made today on local government funding, if he's had those through, and that were made in Parliament this afternoon. And if he has, what does he think in the context of the budget monitoring and looking ahead? What are his provisional views on how that is going to affect Crawley Borough Council and how it's working and how it's going to provide the services to our residents? Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other further speakers? No? Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can I just say that I absolutely agree that the reserves are in a healthy condition, and that this council's made good progress with its finances. Madam Mayor, what's more, I take full credit for this administration in achieving that. Now, I have to pay tribute to Councillor Lanza, because he has the great skill that would be envied by many politicians, I think, for being able to say provocative things in the guise of being very reasonable indeed. And tonight is no exception. But just to briefly address right to buy, because I really don't want this to become embroiled into discussion on the principles of it, in order to try and sort of make it a wedge issue or to clear blue water between us. One of the reasons the right to buy receipts have been so healthy is that there obviously was a deadline for people to apply for the more favourable discount for right to buy. Now, that obviously, in terms of capital receipts that we now have in the council's bank account, is good for the HRA in terms of our capital programme. But actually, in the long term, it damages the revenue and it creates issues for Crawley Homes when it comes to its revenue spending, which are things like repairs, which tenants care very much about. So, although there are benefits in that respect, it doesn't help us in others. Now, in some ways, whether we have lots of right to buy receipts or not is, until we build the houses with them, it's irrelevant, because we've got over 2,000 households on the waiting list, and a small proportion of stock to offer them every year. And that's what right to buy has done over decades. It has denuded the housing stock. Now, I don't oppose right to buy, Madam Mayor, personally, but it's not a black and white issue. And when we talk about the right to buy discount, it's only gone back to a lower level, to sort of more historic levels, after Cameron and Osborne absolutely jacked up the discount to a very high rate compared to historically on discounts. Now, people are paying council tax to cover temporary accommodation costs because the Conservatives nationally ran down the national council housing supply and made little attempt to replace them. And that's one of the issues we have now. Now, in terms of the delay in the capital programme, it isn't fair to suggest that we aren't progressing with the capital programme, and I think Councillor Lanza knows that. Certainly what's not happened didn't happen for good cause. We have to bite the bullet on spending on this, because not least of which, because the cost of temporary accommodation and nightly paid means that we'll be spending to save if we can reduce those pressures. Now, is there anything we can do to expedite the programme? This is frequently asked, and Cabinet members are holding us to account to make sure things are being done in a timely way. But as I said before, water neutrality has been a significant factor until very recently. There will inevitably be intricacies within individual projects that will create delay, but we are doing a lot, and we are ambitious, and we're right to be ambitious. Things are moving now. We are not being over-ambitious, but there is a lot being delivered. We're sometimes reliant as well on third parties acting or making decisions, and I don't think that was recognised. Things don't always run to plan. Thanks to water neutrality, there are some projects that will need a further decision from the planning committee before they can proceed, as we discussed earlier, and none of this is down to the council having done anything that could be criticised. Now, the point is also valid that we need to have a budget in place in case any opportunities worth taking suddenly arise. As coming back to the full council and asking you for a lot of money would often mean the chance would pass before we had time to take it. Now, I acknowledge the overall point that the slippage has created more investment income than we otherwise might have enjoyed, but all indications are that we couldn't rely on that even if we were to halt all spending. Now, I'd like to thank Councillor Russell. I would love to be able to give a definitive answer as to how this year's financial settlement for local government has affected the Borough Council, but you'll understand we've only received it late this afternoon and our finance officers are working through the detail. The very preliminary observations, however, look very good, and provided there's not something else buried in the details somewhere, it's my opinion that the Council looks set to have received one of its best financial settlements from the government in over 15 years. There will be further updates when we've had time to reach a considered view, but it's the first time in many years I think any of us as members can remember a time that we even had an opportunity to express optimism. I just hope it won't be dashed when I start looking through the finer detail, but at the moment I'd like to say to members it's the first time I felt positive when we've been presented with the budget in a very long time.
Well done. Well done.
There are no further supplementary items of business. I declare the meeting of the Council now closed. Thank you. Yeah, yes, that's good.
Didn't have one of those where we thought it was an easy agenda and then we go guillotine, guillotine, guillotine.
Yes, yeah. We were